One of the biggest items on the governor's agenda is getting a yes vote to raise the sales tax in order to get $1.2 billion to fix Michigan's roads. Take a listen.
I want to recognize great bipartisan work done at the end of last year. And it was about doing a bipartisan solution to deal with something we knew we had to do, and that's a transportation proposal to deal with the fact that we have rotten roads and bridges in our state. No one in Michigan likes our roads and bridges. We got that work done, but our work isn't done. Now we need to ask our citizens to support that effort in May on the ballot.
All right, no one likes Michigan's roads and bridges. Nolan, you're shaking your head. It feels like that there is not a lot of support for this ballot initiative in May.
I'm not sure whether there will be a lot of support in May or not. There's not today because of the very reason you said. Nobody likes the roads and everybody wants the roads fixed. But he knows, and he knows as well as anybody that he's selling a really lousy package here. This is not what he wanted. This is not what the legislative leadership wanted. This is what a cowardly legislature ended up passing at the end of the year. This sales tax, raising the sales tax, a hard deal anyway, because it's the most visible tax and it's the most regressive tax. People pay it on everything. They see it on every receipt they get. It raises about $600 million more than what was on the table when they were talking about raising the fuel tax, and that money goes everywhere. So it's a Christmas tree bill, and I think there's going to be some pushback on that. A lot of the business groups aren't sure whether they want to support it. I don't know that this was, I know this wasn't the right way to do it, and I don't know that he's got the right message simply saying our roads are bad, you got to pass a higher tax to fix them.
Okay, so Nolan says this is lousy policy. Is this the best policy that we're going to find on this?
Well, I think that's the question. It is bad. It's poor tax policy, and that's the thing that I think has got to really rankle the governor, who has been really focused in his first 4 years on trying to iron out tax policy at the state level, and this would be going backwards, sort of more regressive, and funding roads with something other than user fees. So, there's a lot of problems with it. The question is, can you get something better out of a legislature that was dysfunctional enough to end us up in this place in the first instance? And I don't know what the calculus there is. If you turn this down, do you hope that they would, this summer, when they're gone, normally anyway, would they stay and try to get something else done? The fall is not a great prospect for another package. So this may be the best we could do, which I think is a really sad commentary on the state of legislative politics in the state. But that may be where we end up.
So there truly is no plan B, Nolan, and you have a lot of new faces in the legislature. You're not quite sure what kind of deal you could get from that.
No, there's not a plan B, but you could have private groups do a citizens initiative and get the right policy together for the November ballot.
Well, you'd have to start
or
that
the November
now.
16 ballot,
yeah,
or
16 would be the
it would be the earliest you could do it. But it might be better to just suck it up and wait and do it right, rather than be stuck forever with this really poor proposal, this really expensive, ineffective proposal. And you've got people out there the governor is trying to convince them, vote for this because your roads are bad. People know the roads are bad, but they also think there's money in the state government to fix it, that the state government's spending too much money on other things. I don't believe there's money there for it, but that's a prevailing attitude. People don't believe we're fixing the roads right when we do fix them, so they don't want their money squandered away. They believe truck weights are too high. There's a lot of messages that he's got to deliver that he's not delivering yet.
Is there a bad timing issue in this, though? If we look at waiting until the 2016 ballot, you've lost, or we've lost so much time in terms of fixing things.
Yeah, I have asked the governor a couple of times whether there's anything that he has at his discretion, his executive discretion, to be able to move money, more money into the road fund from other places. He hadn't really answered that question. I don't think, even if he could say yes, then the question would be, well, where are you taking that money from?
Right.
Who else is going without, so that we can fund roads? And that's what we were trying to avoid doing anymore. That's how we've been dealing with it.
The beauty of the fuel tax, of raising the fuel taxes, with gas at $1.75 at some stations, you could go 15 cents with people not really. It would take you back to where you were a few weeks ago in terms of the cost of gasoline. But the beauty of the fuel tax is, by Constitution, every dime of it has to go to roads.
go to roads.
And this would be, if this proposal passes, it'll mark the first time we've ever funded roads with something other than a user fee or user tax.
Real quick before we leave this topic, Stephen, so what could the governor do to convince a lot of these business leaders and county executives and other groups to get on board with this in the next couple of months?
I think the only hammer he has is the prospect of this not getting fixed for a really long time. In other words, that if you don't support this, we're looking at 2 construction seasons perhaps going by before we start really repairing roads that are absolutely crumbling, and you know that the business community has an interest in that. You know, chasing people away because the roads are bad. So it really is. That's the choice we're making: is fix it now with a you know mediocre plan at best, or wait a much longer time.
This is a very
Last word on this,
hastily written proposal, and it's got a lot of unintended consequences in it, uncertainties in it. This is trying to write a tax bill in a matter of a few hours is what they did in December. It's just the wrong way to do things, and it's going to lead to, like Obamacare, a lot of things in there that people didn't realize were in there. That's going to come back and bite them later on.